There's more to imagine when you listen. So let your imagination soar with Audible. Audible has audio titles from every genre that will inspire you to imagine new worlds, possibilities, and ways of thinking. As an Audible member, you get to choose one title a month to keep from their entire catalog. Enjoy an exciting reawakening of a beloved classic with the Audible original, David Copperfield by Charles Dickens. Produced by Academy Award-winning director Sam Mendes. Starring Ncuti Gatwa, Helena Bonham Carter, and Theo James. This adaptation breathes new life into a familiar tale. New members can try Audible free for 30 days. Visit audible.com/imagine or text IMAGINE to 500-500. That's audible.com/imagine or text IMAGINE to 500-500.
Are you struggling to close deals? Cold outreach is wasting the time of both the buyer and seller at every stage, especially when sellers are using shallow and outdated data. Your organization can overcome these challenges with technology that translates comprehensive, high-quality buyer data into real-time insights. These deeper insights empower sales reps and teams to adopt the habits of top performers, which leads to better outcomes, like more pipeline, higher win rates, and larger deals. We call this deep sales. And we've built the first deep sales platform with the next generation of LinkedIn Sales Navigator. Right now, you can try LinkedIn Sales Navigator and get a 60-day free trial at linkedin.com/trial. That's linkedin.com/trial for a 60-day free trial. Let LinkedIn Sales Navigator help you sell like a superstar today. Just go to linkedin.com/trial and get started.
Welcome to How to Survive, the show that teaches you how to survive the stuff that can kill you.
Like wasps' nests, or El Nino, or narcissistic parents.
And the stuff that just makes you wish you were dead.
Like MRI tubes, or being pantsed, or discount hookers.
I think you meant sex workers.
I knew I was gonna get well actually'd on my own intro. The only way to solve this is
the theme song.
Ground is shaking under our feet, mountains on fire, flooding in the street. Can't breathe the air, can't fight the feeling. Gobbling down Xanax ain't the way to be dealing. Gotta do better than just getting high. We gotta stick together if we're gonna survive. How to survive. How to survive.
Welcome to How to Survive with Danielle and Kristine. I am Danielle.
It's me, Kristine.
Oh yeah, we talked about how we don't have to say that because it's in the opening credits, and then we did it again.
We just repeat ourselves.
Oh well. How are you?
I'm here.
We've had another week of show surgeries.
Yeah.
So walk us through what happened.
Okay, so I had something on Monday called an Intracept procedure.
Oh, that's when you take the red pill instead of the blue pill, and people are walking on the ceiling.
And you still don't understand what happened in the movie.
Yeah.
And even if you read explainers, it doesn't make sense.
Speaking of that, someone needs to talk to me about Dead Ringers, the TV show. I'm very confused. Okay.
I've only watched the first episode, but I'm happy to talk to you about it. I watched it last night. So it's also called an ablation.
Yes.
And it was for my back pain that's been pretty severe for the last, 3 months, 6 years. It feels like forever. After my knee surgery, I had that ski accident.
Yeah.
And then my knee got torn, and then they fixed that. But then my back was like, me too.
Hashtag me too.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
See,
backs also.
We've all suffered in the Me Too movement.
Not all backs.
And so the way this procedure works is you go under full anesthesia.
Oh.
Yeah, I didn't know that was going to happen. I thought it was going to be local, but nope. And then they make 2 incisions in your back.
Wow.
And then they go in with a tool and burn something that they kill the nerves.
Right. Jimmy has had similar things done, yeah.
Okay. So
not to his back, but yes.
So they kill the nerves so that you don't feel that pain anymore. And
can they do that in my brain?
Yeah, I think that's called a lobotomy.
Yeah, I think that was Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. It's basically that.
Yeah, you can do that. So that's what I did on Monday. And he said it's either going to be incredibly painful afterward and you're going to be in a lot of pain. It's going to be awful, or it's not going to be that bad. And I was like, of course it's going to be the first option because it's me. But it wasn't.
Oh, good.
So it hasn't been that bad. I've just been really tired. And one of the worst things, weirdly, has been my throat has been really sore because of, they put the tube down your throat.
Yes.
And so I've just been like, hey, guys, can you go get me another ginger ale? Like,
right.
That's been really, so it's still a little froggy, but it's a lot better now.
Okay. And is the family treating you well, waiting on you hand and foot, I hope?
Everybody's being pretty nice to me.
Good.
Overall.
Good. And
so you should tell them you have a surgery like this every week. So
yeah.
Just go away for an hour, like go read a book somewhere and come back. Oh, mommy had a surgery.
I had to have my back surgery again. I have to do it once a week. And then for the next 4 to 5 days, I just have to be treated like a queen.
So are you, does it hurt to walk?
No, I think it worked. I mean, I think it's good. It's just hard for me to tell because it's sore from the procedure.
Right.
So I don't think I'll really know for a couple more days.
That's right.
When it's not sore anymore.
Yeah. Well, that's great.
Yeah.
I'm glad you weren't in, because I know you experience pain on a different level.
I get it at an 11.
You do?
Yes.
My knee has been driving me crazy. And long story short, I had to have an MRI. So, I go into the MRI tube.
Yeah.
And the nurse says...
Remember your tweet.
Okay, I already tweeted about this, so I'm kind of stealing from myself. But the nurse said, what kind of music would you like to listen to?
Okay. Yeah.
And I said classical.
Yes.
And she heard slow R&B fuck jams.
She was like, what kind of music do you want to hear? I'm going to play what I like.
It was the filthiest music I've ever heard in my life. I mean, these weren't metaphors. This was like, and my dick's gonna be sucked, and your vagina's gonna be cold, and fucking sucky, fuck.
Why is her
icy.
vagina
There was
cold?
something about icy dick or icy vagina or some pussy or something. Icy pussy, I don't know. So it was so funny. But the very first song, before the fuck jam started, it was the Michael Jackson song, You Are Not Alone. Oh. And I'm like, this is the creepiest fucking song to hear when you're stuck in a tube.
Yes.
Like Michael Jackson telling you he is here with you in this confined space.
Pass, hard pass. Yeah, you got to hear every Michael Jackson song through a new lens now.
God. And I was like, do I squeeze the thing to tell them
just
they gave
change
me the wrong
station.
music?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was...
Wow.
I was at I don't think I talked about it in the show. I was at a baseball game and there was a softball game and there was a speaker behind us, like another game going on. They were playing R. Kelly's,
Jesus.
Whatever one of his sexy
I did
songs.
it.
Yes. Like
Key in the Ignition?
Same thing. Just all these really
the freaking
explicit songs. And I'm like, it's 3:00 in the afternoon. There are kids everywhere.
I know.
And it's just, fuck this. I'm like, this is insane. And it just got worse every next song.
I know. It's interesting.
It's wild.
I mean, I wasn't, of course, offended. I was just thought it was funny.
I walked right over there.
I was going to tell the nurse, like, just so you know, you put in the wrong music for the next person who's going to get mad, because everyone gets mad at everything now.
Yeah.
But then I didn't see her, so I guess next person. And I'm sure it's old people having, MRIs on their knees.
Yeah.
So,
And people our age.
And people our age. I was telling Garen before we started that Oliver and I have officially run out of TV shows to watch, so we're watching The Golden Girls this morning.
Nice.
And they're in their schmatzes, and I go, Oliver, they're my age. Mm-hmm. That's what my age was back then. Like you were retired, and you were living with three other old ladies, and you wore the ugliest clothes that have ever been produced.
But they had fun.
They had so much fun.
So, I don't know. Looks kind of nice.
It does look kind of nice, actually. It's just, how they were portrayed.
But were they supposed to be our age? Or were they supposed to be older?
We've talked about this before. I think, Garen will look it up. The show was on for a long time.
Yeah.
I think Rue McClanahan was in her 40s when it started.
Her real age, but was she playing 40s?
I don't know. They don't really say their ages on the show. So I don't know. Even as a kid, I was like, are they 60? Are they 80? I had no idea.
Yeah. I always just assumed that they were supposed to be, in their 60s, but it's kind of ridiculous that they
I don't think they were, though, when it started.
Younger.
Yeah.
So,
okay. We got some intel.
Blanche, on the show, Blanche was between 53 and 60 as the show progressed.
Wait, the actress or the character?
The character.
The character.
Yeah.
53 and 60. Okay.
Dorothy was 54 to 61. Rose.
Wait. That doesn't make any sense. Oh, yeah, yes, it does. Okay.
That's their ages throughout the show.
I got it.
At the end of the show, she was 61. Rose, 55 to 62. Sophia, 80 to 85. Sophia was the youngest one. I don't know if you guys know that.
What? Common knowledge.
Siobhan's the youngest sibling. What?
I know. I still am confused by that. Is that
It's on the website.
canon? Oh, it is. It's on the website?
It's on the HBO website. I checked.
By the way,
That's not a spoiler.
we haven't watched yet.
Okay. Well, we're not going to talk about it anyway.
Do we have anything else to talk about before we get into today's?
Do you want to recount what my mom shared with us?
Yes.
So I got a call from my mom, and she's like, did you guys talk about Succession on your show? And I was like, yeah, we got in trouble or something because we spoiled something or whatever. And she's like, oh, because I was just watching QVC, and Isaac Mizrahi, famous fashion designer, said, he said, yeah, I was listening to this hilarious podcast, and the host Danielle was talking about Succession, and she's so funny. It was so funny. I'm paraphrasing, but so we're in the midst of trying to find out if indeed
it's this show.
I'm
guessing it's not. But the other funny thing is that when Karen texted this to us, I read QVC as CVS. So I thought your mother overheard Isaac Mizrahi in a CVS talking about a podcast.
Oh my God.
And I was like, I can't even picture Isaac Mizrahi in a CVS.
Oh my God, I can.
Well, now I can.
Going nuts.
Just going nuts. Oh my God, there's so many things.
Oh my God, I love this place. What is this place? Can anyone shop here? They have everything here. Like just him being
so membership.
So can you just buy whatever you want here?
So the reason why this would mean so much to Kristine and I is that when we were on The Dish, one of the things we covered was QVC. And one of the things we covered was this my clip? It might have been my clip. I think it was.
I don't remember.
It was Isaac Mizrahi has a show on QVC, obviously. And he and this woman, I don't know her name, but I'm sure she's still on with him.
Wasn't she like blonde, big blonde hair?
Like short, but big hair.
Big hair.
And they're just like two yentas going at it, talking about
accessories.
How accessories, and she said something about coffee, and he was like, oh, now I want a coffee.
I love coffee.
Now I want a cappuccino. But anyway, they had this thing about how it's going to be a belty year.
It's a belty year.
It's a belty year. It's going to be a belty year. And that was our favorite thing, and we would just quote it all the time.
Yeah.
Because it's going to be a belty year.
We've never stopped.
It's a
belty year, after all.
I think it was a belty year, too. Because Jesse did used to wear belts a lot over like sweaters and stuff. So I guess it was a belty year.
It really was. That was a very belty year back in, I don't know what year that was, 2011.
It's never a belty year for me because I have no torso, so I can't really wear belts.
Belts are tough.
They just go under my boobs.
Well, that can be another kind of look.
It's a different look.
It's a different kind of belty year.
Actually, I think that was a look for a while, wearing your belt way up high.
Remember when people wore jeans under their dresses?
My mother did.
Yeah, that was a thing.
But wait, what era are you talking about?
Same-ish.
70s?
Mid 2000s.
Oh, okay. I don't then.
Yeah, that was a thing.
My mother did that in the late 70s, early 80s.
It came back. Well, I just sure hope he is talking about our show because that would be so fun.
God.
It would be just such a full circle.
Oh my God. And then what if we got him on?
I would die.
I would die.
Yeah.
He's so much fun.
Oh my God.
I have a feeling he doesn't take himself too seriously, but I could be wrong.
I hope not.
I mean, it's going to be a belty year after all.
Yeah. Well, if he does, you have to wear a belt.
Oh my God. I'll wear every belt I have.
I think we all should wear an oversized belt.
Yes.
I have a real big one, so.
Oh yeah, I have those broad.
Yeah.
They're very tight though. They're like elastic. You know those belts? They're like elastic.
An elastic belt?
Well, it's like It's like stretch material. It's not elastic.
Okay.
It's like stretch material. Then it just clicks together.
Oh, wow.
In the front. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, yeah.
Occasionally, I'll try a belt once a decade, but
Okay, this might be your year.
it's about a year. Are we ready to get into today's topic?
Yes, let's do it.
Okay, today we are going to learn how to survive narcissistic parents. Okay.
Heavy duty.
What is narcissism? A narcissistic personality disorder is one of 10 personality disorders and gets included in the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual that we've talked about before as a diagnosed mental health condition. The characteristics associated with a narcissistic personality disorder include a severe lack of empathy for others, a sense of self-importance and grandiosity, a strong desire to be admired and to feel superior to others. Now, those things I kind of all assumed. But these are signs that your parent might be a narcissist, and some of these things actually sort of surprised me.
Okay.
Boasting about your achievements to others without offering you emotional support. So they're telling everyone else, my kid is so amazing, but then behind closed doors, they're not, because you're a reflection of them. So they're always bragging about you. It's not that they're, you know what I mean? Like, they are completely self-involved, but their self includes you.
Got it. You're a reflection of them.
Yes. Demonstrating childish or selfish behavior, constantly needing the spotlight on them. Your mother or father loves to be the center of attention and only wants the conversation to be about them. When you don't do what your mother or father wants you to do, they make you feel incredibly guilty. They do anything to be in control and are ruthless and unforgiving in their desire to be on top. Being absent from significant life events. Blaming others for your problems when the issues stem from a lack of parental love and support. Being harsh and opinionated behind closed doors, but is always pleasant and puts up a front when other people are around. Failing to provide emotional nurturing and support to you. Using you for their personal gain and motivation. Exhibiting severe mood swings and volatile behavior. Showing signs of annoyance and irritability when you need their time and attention. Okay, growing up with narcissistic parents. If you grew up in an environment where one or both parents displayed narcissistic tendencies, your self-esteem and emotional well-being were likely severely impacted. There is also the chance that you may experience many problems in your life without realizing the root cause of your issues. The narcissistic parent. Any negative traits within the narcissist often get projected outwards to protect their fragile ego. When you receive a negative jibe or comment from your narcissistic parent, it often reflects what they loathe within themselves. Thus, in the parent-child dynamic, the parent will be possessive, control their child's life entirely, and view their children as an extension of them. Having a parent with narcissistic personality disorder can severely affect your mental health and well-being. The narcissistic parent typically wears a mask of perfection that they present to the world. Such parents get viewed as loving and nurturing in public, but when no one is around, they scream, rage, and criticize. Narcissists view people as an extension of them. One of the classical features of narcissism is that narcissists tend to believe that people are extensions of themselves. Shame and humiliation. Often, narcissistic parents are very possessive over their children and can feel profoundly threatened when the child begins to develop a sense of independence away from them. Children of narcissistic parents usually grow up with low self-esteem and an eroded sense of self. Unlike other children, the child who grew up with narcissistic parents will typically experience a sense of shame and humiliation and a stunt in their mental and emotional development. So I just sort of thought it meant like you're obsessed with yourself. I didn't realize it meant like also that you're like, I thought it would be like you're not around for your kid, but this is like you're overly involved in your kids in some ways and completely neglectful of them.
It makes me think of all the parents who like are at sporting events, like screaming at their children until their children are crying because they're not doing a good enough job. You know, it's often dads because I'm at a lot of boys' sporting events. And I'm thinking about how it's like, oh, this isn't even about your kid. Right. Like, this is about you.
You're embarrassed or you're...
Yeah. Like, you think you're going to sort of live vicariously through their... Like, what didn't happen for you.
Exactly.
That feels very much like what you're describing.
It's also interesting that they're seeing these kids as a reflection of themselves, but look at what that behavior makes them appear as to other people.
Yeah.
It completely dismantles what they're trying to do.
Exactly.
And they don't even realize they're doing
it. They're not aware of it.
Horrible.
7 ways to survive a narcissist. 7 ways to survive a narcissistic parent. Surviving is the operative word when dealing with a narcissistic parent. To heal from narcissistic abuse, you need to understand how such abuse manifests and what you can do to protect your mental health in the process. Acceptance. Your narcissistic parent may never change their ways, and one of the first steps to recovery is accepting this truth, which can seem challenging at first. According to mental health professionals, accepting who narcissists are will help alleviate any anxiety for the victims. It would help if you remember that any harsh words or accusations from your parent are projections and do not say anything about you or your character. Inherently, such projections are how narcissists feel about themselves. Recognize and resist gaslighting attempts. Another prevalent symptom of narcissism is gaslighting. Sadly, many narcissistic parents gaslight their children to make them feel delusioned or crazy.
Jeez.
Yeah. Practice compassion. It may sound counterintuitive to offer compassion to a narcissist, but you must understand that although they may never show it, it is highly likely that the narcissistic parent does care about you deep down. Moreover, practicing self-compassion is just as important, if not more so, when dealing with a narcissistic parent. After enduring a challenging upbringing that likely lacked compassion, practicing it may seem complicated, but not impossible. Putting your needs first. Children of narcissistic parents are taught to put their parents' needs before their own, which creates a toxic dynamic where the child turned adult continues this pattern throughout their lives. People must know that it's okay to put their needs ahead of others and give themselves adequate time to recover from their childhoods. Cultivate boundaries. Narcissists often test your boundaries to see if you can get away with it, which can be immensely frustrating for those trying to put some healthy boundaries in place and protect themselves from the narcissist's whims. Breaking the boundaries. Your narcissistic parent may turn up at your house unannounced or violate any family rules you may have in place to get a reaction from you.
Jeez.
Narcissists often use provocative behaviors and phrases to ignite drama and conflict, such as name-calling, favoritism, and other attention-seeking behaviors. The trick is to reinforce your boundaries and follow through on any consequences when these boundaries get violated. You must be clear and firm about what you are willing to accept and may need to ask your narcissistic parent to leave if they continue their bad behavior. 5. Find a support system you can rely on. Having a support group in place can be helpful, especially for those who have children and endured narcissistic abuse growing up. Research shows that children of narcissistic parents often experience difficulty validating their children. So it could pass along.
Because they don't have that experience.
Have a good model.
Yeah.
Leaning on a support network. Thus, cultivating support networks with other survivors of narcissistic abuse can help you work through any difficulties while gaining support and encouragement from people who understand your experience. 6. Build up your self-esteem and confidence. After years of narcissistic abuse from your mother or father, it may be no surprise that you'll likely suffer from low self-esteem and self-worth. Indeed, seeking events and activities that increase your confidence while developing your skill set will give you the booster to feel better in yourself. I just realized I just had a flash of Donald Trump Jr. in my head.
Well, and I'm also just thinking what you said about how they do care, sort of, deeply, or deep down, but like they're still only capable of caring as much as they care, which is less than the standard person, because they're lacking in those, they're lacking in sort of that
empathy,
that well of like care and compassion. So it's like they care as much as they can, but it's not enough.
No.
They don't love others as much as...
Right, they're incapable of it.
They don't have that within them. So you're still not, as a child, you're not getting the amount of love that's needed.
Yeah.
Ugh.
And there's really no changing them, which is what's so sad.
Because there's really no treatment, right? They're like sociopaths, and the personality disorders are sort of resistant to treatment, right? So.
7, consider the prospect of getting professional help. Growing up with a narcissistic parent can cause many complications in later life. Perhaps a person experiences chronic relationship issues or is always angry, confused, or stressed out for no plausible reason. Explosions of anger with family and friends might be a common theme for survivors of narcissistic abuse. Additionally, substance abuse and depression can get added, Don Jr., can get added to the litany of complications, yet people often do not know what is causing them to react this way. Childhood trauma. Such reactions are prevalent in childhood trauma. Children who suffered at the hands of a narcissist would have internalized their experiences as a way of coping. So, these coping mechanisms can lead to severe mental health conditions such as post-traumatic stress disorder. Fortunately, regardless of the many implications of narcissistic abuse, recovery is possible. I know that's sort of quick, but are you ready for a story?
Yeah, I love stories.
Okay, so let me just tell you that this comes from a website, I think it's called Narcissistic Family Files. So there are...
I would watch that show.
Right?
A&E. On A&E.
On A&E,
Well,
yeah.
whatever channel Hoarders is on.
Well, arts and entertainment.
Exactly,
Isn't it
yes.
just... I don't know if... There are entire websites dedicated to people separating from their narcissistic parents.
Like going no contact?
Yes.
Yeah, because
Because it's such a traumatic, horrible thing. So this is one story. I have edited it.
Okay. You added some jokes?
I did actually kind of leave in the more sort of... There's some gunplay that I left out.
Okay.
But... okay.
Light gunplay.
Some light gunplay. No one was killed. Helen's troubles with her narcissistic mother started, and there's just like daughters of narcissists, daughters of narcissistic mothers, sons of narcissistic fathers. Like it's a cottage industry.
It's not like Daughters of the American Revolution where
it's
you're
like that, but it's
but it's like a group you don't want to be in.
right. It's not as exclusive.
You're like, this isn't the group I wanted to
I don't know
join.
which one of those is worse, to be honest.
yeah, really.
That's true.
Helen's troubles with her narcissistic mother started long before she could talk. As an infant, she suffered an undetected neonatal stroke. I know.
Honey.
Helen's mother, Maureen, said she was a colicky baby who was acting out to spite her.
Oh, shit.
I mean, at the drop.
Oh, shit.
It wasn't until Helen lost her vision and partial facial muscle function at 7 years old that an MRI identified her early stroke. Following her loss of vision, which she eventually regained, Helen endured over 24 surgeries. My mother viewed my problems as competition, so she got sick a lot for attention.
Oh, Jesus.
Munchausen, right? She never talked about my health or asked me how I was doing. Mm-hmm. At the dinner table one night when Helen and her sisters and father were talking... At the dinner table one night, when Helen and her sisters and father were talking, Maureen suddenly slipped from her chair and collapsed onto the floor, apparently unconscious. Shocked and concerned, her family rushed to her side and picked up the phone to call 911, at which time Maureen regained consciousness. The same scenario played out a few more times at the dinner table. If the conversation shifted away from Maureen, she would dramatically drop to the floor, eliciting concern from her family.
This is the mom?
Yes.
Oh my God, so her mom is like faking passing out?
Uh-huh. The conversation's not about her. She just falls.
Imagine if that's your mom. Oh my God.
I'm just like...
Imagine your life.
I know.
People have parents like this.
I know.
And I mean, we've all talked about our parents and our experiences, but come on, guys.
No, this is heavy duty.
Wow.
Helen said, pretty soon we knew Mom's fainting spells were more ploys for attention. After that, we ignored her and talked over it.
Oh my God. Oh my God. I love that.
She continued to fall sometimes. She'd lie there for a bit and then pretend to wake up in confusion.
Oh my God.
Charming on the outside. In their community, Maureen couldn't do enough for other families. Everyone loved her, Helen said. She remembered everyone's birthday and baked them a cake. She was a Girl Scout leader. She'd take the girls on hikes and sew their uniforms. All of my friends loved her. No one noticed that my sisters and I weren't on the hikes.
Wow.
We never got birthday cakes.
Wow.
Helen said one of the things that saved her growing up was spending time with her grandparents. She said her paternal grandfather would intervene on her behalf when her mother lost her temper. As a young adult, Helen interviewed members of her mother's family to try to figure her out. It was immensely helpful to talk with them, she said. I realized my mother's problems existed from a very young age, that it wasn't my fault. These days, Helen has firm boundaries with her narcissistic mother and a 3,000-mile buffer. She protects herself and her 22-year-old daughter, but, she says, her mother hasn't changed much. Helen described her most recent visit with Maureen back in Georgia. So this is Helen talking. Mm-hmm. My daughter is very pretty and often gets looks. We took my mother out for dinner one night, and some young men at a nearby table noticed my daughter. They were smiling and trying to catch her eye, something my daughter dislikes and tried to ignore. On the car ride after dinner, Maureen would not stop chuckling. Maureen, of course, is Helen's mother, the grandmother. Helen said, Mom had a familiar smug look on her face. When I finally asked her what she was laughing about, she grinned and said, I've still got it. The sex appeal.
God.
Did you see those good-looking men staring at me? Helen continued.
Wow.
My mother is almost 80 and has facial paralysis and one eye sewn shut.
I mean, I'm not laughing.
No, it's funny.
It's just... oh.
Helen said,
Maureen.
Helen said, I've worked hard to have a workable relationship with my mother, not a loving one. She doesn't have a clue what that is. I've never had a single moment of maternal affection from her.
Oh.
Yeah. That was poor Helen.
And that's a lot of people having a situation like that.
Yeah.
A lot.
It's terrible. But it sounds like this woman might at least have developed some distance and a sense of humor about it.
Yeah. I mean, I think you
got it.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
Like she's on, what do you call it? The Margaret Atwood show. What's her face?
Handmaid's Tale.
Handmaid's Tale. Oh, yeah.
I still got it, boys.
Oh my God. Yes.
Oh, God.
She's like Lucille Bluth.
Yes. Here's a dollar. Go watch a Star Wars.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That is crazy. I mean, I really feel a lot of compassion for anyone who's had that kind of parent or who continues to deal with that kind of parent. Anyone who's listening, we'll put some resources in the newsletter for you of places. And wow, I'm just really floored by that story.
I know.
That was a great story.
That was crazy. And we'll put the link so if you want to read the whole story involving the gunplay.
The light gunplay.
The light gunplay.
Now I'm just imagining her with holding a gun with the one eye sewn shut and waving it in the air.
I didn't even think about that.
Isn't that how she lost her eye?
No, basically what happened was her parents were divorced, and I guess she had a restraining order. I'm trying to just remember this. She had a restraining order against the dad or something, and the dad was bringing the kid back, bringing, I guess, Helen back or something, and Maureen shot the dad, and the dad fell on the lawn, hence breaking the restraining order. So she tried to sue him for breaking the restraining order because he was now on her property because she shot him and he fell over.
I mean, if Helen doesn't write a memoir, I don't know what.
I know.
Well, thank you so much for sharing that. That was
You're so very, very welcome.
And we'll be right back with our guest.
Right back.
Imagine the softest sheets you've ever felt. Now imagine them getting even softer over time. That's what you'll feel with Boll & Branch's best-selling signature sheets in 100% organic cotton. In a recent customer survey, 96% replied that Boll & Branch sheets get softer with every wash. Start getting your best night's sleep in sheets that get softer and softer for years to come. Try their sheets with a 30-night guarantee. Plus, get 15% off with your first order at bollandbranch.com. Code WONDERY15. Exclusions apply. See site for details.
Canva presents the killer of productivity. It was an ordinary workday until...
Oh no, this meeting could have been an email.
Run. Canva had a creative solve.
Forget email. I'll just put the info the team needs in a Canva doc, and I'll make it visual with images, charts, and graphics.
Bring productivity killers to justice with creativity. Love your work at canva.com.
Welcome back to How to Survive with Danielle and Kristine. Kristine, how was your break?
It was delightful.
Yeah, we just spent 5 minutes like a morning zoo team talking about cereals.
That's true.
Yeah.
And now we all want cereal.
I know. Now we all want cereal.
So we're going to go around and everyone's going to list their favorite cereal. But first, I'm going to bring our guest in so that he can talk about his favorite cereal.
Right.
Kevin Maynard is here. He has written for many magazines and newspapers over the years. And he's also been an EP for the Real Housewives of Orange County.
I mean, this is heavy duty credit here.
A little starstruck right now.
Yeah.
$1 million listing. And so many more, we can't list them.
Yes.
But probably if you've watched a show on TV, That's a reality show.
He's been involved.
He had his thumb in that pie.
So, Kevin, I don't know if you know this, but Chris and I used to write on The Dish, which was a sort of sister show to The Soup. So we watched Real Housewives of Orange County a lot. So, like, I know those characters very well. I mean, I don't know if the same people are still on. I did find out, Chris, that we are very excited about Real Housewives of New York because Jenna Lyons, who's like a fashion icon to us, is joining. It doesn't premiere till July.
Oh my God.
I know. I was looking it up for you because you just had this surgery, and I was like, I'm going to send her a present that like maybe it'll air soon, but it's not till July.
Do we know when in July? Because
I think they did announce the date, but I don't remember.
I need to be back from my Europe trip.
Oh, you can watch it overseas now?
But I won't. I want to be watching it when you're watching it.
Oh, yeah,
so that we can text each other.
Yeah.
You know, like, look what Jenna's wearing.
Yeah.
Of course she's not wearing a bra.
No,
like, I got to copy that
woman's
look.
never met a bra she liked.
No. I love that about her.
Anyway, so Kevin, in the first half of the show, we talked about how to survive narcissistic parents.
Oh.
And now we're going to talk about just how to survive plain old crazy parents.
Yes.
So what is your story?
Well, I'll preface by saying that I feel like I've never met anyone at like a cocktail party or a gathering or anyone who's not said my parents are crazy.
Sure.
But I always make a real connection with people whose parents are legit crazy because my parents... It's complicated. My dad's not around anymore. This is going to bring it way down. He overdosed on crystal.
Oh, my God.
Homeless.
Oh, my God.
Whoa.
He taught at UCLA and the New School, and he produced stuff for television and a movie that was at the Sundance Film Festival. But he lost it all. My mother is bipolar 1.
Oh, my God.
Schizophrenic. And growing up...
Wait a second. Did you grow up here in LA?
We moved from glamorous Teaneck, New Jersey when I was 11 years old to Los Angeles. And it's just what I knew, you know?
Yeah.
I didn't know otherwise. And so my parents are really unique. They're such a unique breed that there is a famous book. I'm very pro-therapy, mental health. I'm sure you guys are.
Yes,
too.
For sure we are.
And there's a book by a woman named Kay Redfield Jamison. I think.
Yes, I know this.
Do you know this
yes,
book? Yeah.
Yes.
So she wrote a book called An Unquiet Mind about her being bipolar and figuring that out while she wrote the book. Her favorite student at UCLA saw my parents. And when I became old enough, I went and sought her out. And she's like, oh my God, I always wanted to meet their kids because I was so worried about how they were doing.
She saw your parents clinically.
Yes.
So her favorite student became a therapist.
Their therapist.
Yes.
Got it.
Yes. So like the queen of like mental health and talking about it, her prized student saw my parents.
And your parents stumped her.
Yes, and she was relieved that I was doing pretty okay.
Are you an only child or do you have siblings?
I have a sibling. We're not super... I feel like when you're in a situation like my brother and I, where the parents are alternating literally between jail and mental hospitals, you either like bond,
Sure,
which would have been really, really nice, or you like kind of don't. Like he's taken on the role of like third parent, and he kind of, I don't want to use the word gaslight, but well, I guess just did. But he's always like, well, you choose to remember them that way. And I'm like, what other...
Here's the court documents that state I'm remembering correctly.
Yes.
Yes, exactly.
I do think, though, that some siblings, from a protective measure, need to remember it a different way. So that can be weird when you try to have a conversation with them. I'm not speaking completely from my own experience, but they're like, oh, I didn't think it was that bad. And I'm like, okay, well, then we can't really talk about this.
Yeah. As a kid, like, here's the thing. It's not one way or the other, right? My parents are not evil. My father... It is past tense, obviously, but they loved us and they were very smart. But emotional warmth was not like, I saw the movie The Squid and the Whale and I kind of related a little bit. Like it was always sort of an intellectual contest. And when I was a little kid, my dad was passionate about movies. So we would watch like Abbott and Costello movies and Disney movies and things like that. But we were also, I was like 9 years old and I saw Triumph of the Will. I saw Satyricon, which was the first time I had ever seen gay sex. And I was 9 and I was like, there was like an orgy. He just thought, we should be exposed to everything. And
Yeah.
he wasn't going to condescend to us. And we weren't going to pretend. Well, I don't know. My mom did pretend there was a tooth fairy and an Easter bunny. Sure. But like my dad, not so much. Like he would get in trouble because we'd meet him in the city and we'd go to Chinatown for dinner and then we'd get ice cream and we'd come home and my mom would be like, well, what else did you do? Because it's late. And I wasn't supposed to say anything, but I was, again, under the age of 10 and I was like, well, then Dad took us to night court. And my mom was like, what? And I was like, it was really interesting because there was like a pimp and a prostitute.
Whoa.
And they were talking about if the coroner, who it belonged to,
Wow.
and the proprietorship. I wasn't.
Right.
I was like 9. I didn't use that word, but I was just like fat. Like I kind of understood his enthusiasm for life. Like he traveled to Cuba and he loved, music and art and he taught at the New School. He was like a total intellectual, but maybe it wasn't really the age.
He was exposing you to things that you were a little too young to maybe be exposed to, even though he was
treating you like a peer rather than a child.
Yes, and then if I would write an essay or something for school, or like do a diorama, or he was like, "Well, it's okay if you want to be glib and facile and soporific," and I'd be like,
wow.
"It's a collage. It's for a book report."
Like I'm just doing what 10-year-olds do.
Right.
God.
And my mother would always be like, don't listen to him there. But what happened was they, so they just fought all the time. They just, not physically, but just yelling was like a thing. Like fights would start because someone would be upstairs, someone would be downstairs, and you would just yell to one another. And they wouldn't even remember what it was about because they just yelled. And I grew up with so much of that. I learned years later from a therapist about the difference between music and lyrics. Like you could say, I love you, and it doesn't really resonate the way I love you does. And so from that point on, it was only going to other friends' houses, getting older, and then things also did escalate.
Was your mom diagnosed while you were a child?
No. Well, I don't know. See, because again, they kind of kept this from me. Her mother kind of raised me. Her mother was amazing.
Oh, good.
Her mother was a single mom for years, then married a guy, but she was like the loveliest person, and she would kind of intimate to me. She was the first person I came out to when I was, in college, but she was also the first person to kind of sort of try to share with me what my mother was going through in the best way she could.
That's very important. We just talked about that in the first half about like this woman, we had a story, this woman talked to the relatives of her mother and found out like, oh, she was like this way before I was even born. Like this is not a new thing. It helps to talk to a relative.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things, so with my mom, she did all the mom things and, read us bedtime stories and I don't, warm's not the word though. Like my grandmother was really warm, but my mother would also do things like she would wake up at 3 a.m. and turn on all the lights. And I'd be like, I'm a kid, I'm in bed. And I'd be like, Mom, like, come on. And she'd be like, I'm looking for something. And I'd be like, well, can you do it later? Or why do you have the light on in my room? And then if you pushed her ever so slightly, she did this thing that I would call her exorcist voice. And I didn't realize it was like a personality thing, but she'd be like, leave me alone, I'm going to do it. And I'd be like, yeah, keep the lights on. So one time we went to a restaurant when my parents had gotten divorced because my dad was having lots of affairs and things like that. And I came back to the table and I could tell she was revved up. And sometimes it's in a very like exhilarating, fun way. But we went to a restaurant and she ordered the entire dessert cart.
Whoa.
And I was like, hey, Mom, why don't we pick one or pick two? And she was like, no, I want a little bit of everything. And I was like, there's like 10 desserts. And also like financially,
that's
not,
a lot of money, right.
And everyone was kind of looking, and then my mom was passing them out to other people. And it's like, it's this magical, heightened, and other people were loving it.
Yeah, it's like she's the most fun person.
So that's like the mania part of the bipolar, right?
But then I said to her, I was like, Mom, we don't want the whole dessert cart. We can't pay for the whole dessert cart, and you have to stop. And then she would go, leave me alone. I want the dessert cart. And everyone in the restaurant looks at you and you go, yeah, once again, like, all right, and then you feel like the weirdest person and just mortified for her, but embarrassed yourself. And like, I really did not know another way.
Sure.
And you're forced to be like the adult in the situation, right? You're trying to monitor your mother and like keep her in check.
Yeah, and then, but the paradox is like, when it came time to apply to colleges, my mother was on it. She made sure that I like did my essays for the University of California system. She like, in so many ways, she was there. But when they, and I thought when they split, because they fought so much, it would get better. It got worse.
Why? Why do you think?
I think I mean, I was thrilled that they weren't together anymore because, again, the screaming and the yelling. And my dad smashed a grandfather clock at one point. He just volatile, and he made it clear that he loved us, but that he did not love her, and that they got married out of college, and just he was stuck, and it was not fun. Who wants to hear that?
No, he would actually verbalize that to you,
kind of, and she was like, even though she would fight with him and tell him to fuck off, she kind of worshipped the ground he walked on, and it was really weird. And then when he left. When he left, she would just like stay in bed all day, and I was like, this isn't good. And then she'd be up all night, and then, you know, but like as parents, they gave me a lot. We traveled, it's just because they didn't love each other, or because she was like obsessed with him and he didn't really give her the time of day, or he made fun of her. It was just a really weird, charged environment. Oh, but sorry, yes. So why they didn't, I think in some weird way, even though I don't want two people who aren't in love to be together, and I understood that at a young age, and I think my brother did too, they balanced each other out, and I don't think in the real world they were tolerated as well as when they were, because it got crazier. Yeah. Beyond. Yeah. And I went to visit friends in New York. It was right after college. And these were people, I went to UC Santa Cruz, and there were some people that lived in New York right after college and I was thinking of moving there, and I did, but I went to visit them. And they asked about my parents, and I was like, they're crazy. We're like the go-betweens, all the things. And it kind of went up a notch because my brother was like, when are you coming home? And I was like, well, why? And he was like, well, just when are you coming home? And I was like, in like 3 days. And he was like, okay, all right, well, just call me when you get home. And I was like, well, I'm talking to you now. What's going on? And he was like, well, you know, Dad tried to strangle Mom with a phone cord.
Oh my God.
And
Jesus.
I was like,
you're like, I should come now then, right?
I was like, what do you...
And they were divorced?
They were divorced. And I was like,
why were they in the same room?
What are they talking about? Oh, because of the bills and because they were still all over each other. I mean, I don't... God, I hope they were not having... Anyway, but they saw each other all the time, but because of us, or for various reasons, or bills, or he had to collect things, or whatever. And I was like, who are these people? Yeah. When did my life become an E-True Hollywood story? Like, what are we talking about
So
here?
when you work on The Housewives, you're like, oh, this is nothing.
Nothing.
Yeah.
You're not phased. You're not phased.
Yeah.
Bravo shows,
bunch of drinking broads. You're like, you got nothing.
You're like, this isn't drama.
Well, that's your narcissistic. I mean, this is... Yeah. I mean, you know, then he went to jail.
For that?
Yes. There was a restraining order against him. He wrote me a letter that my brother will never look at, that he sent to his lawyer, and I was like, he has bought the farm and lost it. The letter started with, basically, he was charged for, manslaughter? What? I don't know. I mean,
attempted murder?
It wasn't attempted murder somehow.
Okay.
It was...
But like attempted assault.
Exactly.
Something.
It was really bad.
Yeah.
And there was a restraining order. He was in jail. We went to visit him in jail, and he said it was going to be fascinating because he's going to write about it. I was like, this is not...
Wow. This is not how you should be taking this.
Yeah. And then he was also arrested for possession of methamphetamines. And I was like, okay... Doing the math, like he's skinny, he's missing teeth. I don't know about this shit. Right. I mean, I took.
And are you an adult at this point?
Basically,
you're in college, or
yeah,
okay.
I'm like 20, 19. You know, so he then
he's looking at all as an intellectual exercise. I went to jail. Oh, it was so fascinating. I could write about this.
Right, and he said he wrote a letter to his lawyer, and I read the first paragraph, and I was like, who who did you? And he's like, and I sent it to a few colleagues because he, like I said, taught at UCLA, produced a film that was at Sundance with Ashley Judd and Luke Perry, ironically called Normal Life. He had done some really good things. And then I read the letter on my computer and it was like, it all started the morning I was babysitting for this hooker that I sleep with. She has a penis, but she has tits. So it's cheaper to sleep with them because, and I was like, whoa, you can't send this to anyone. You cannot. And I was trying to get my own career going when I got out of college. Like the years are kind of conflating now, but I was writing for magazines and newspapers. I wrote a little bit for scripted TV. I wrote for Xena Warrior Princess.
Oh my God.
And I also worked full-time at the LA Gay and Lesbian Center. Like I was trying to...
You're starting your life.
Start my life. And my parents' stuff was just... I was flooded. I was overwhelmed.
Oh my God, so much.
It did become mental hospital jail. The weird part about all this is like you would think, oh my God, my poor mom, sympathy for my mom, is she okay? Well, my mom, after she was strangled by my dad, hightailed it, went to Las Vegas, bought a bunch of wigs. I wish I was making this up.
Jesus Christ. Oh my God.
We couldn't find her. She was telling people at hotels that she would call me and say, I can't talk, your father's listening. I said, he's in jail, Mom. He's got a restraining order and he can't. And she was like, yeah, but I'm staying at New York and they're giving me a deal because I told them what happened with your father. And I'm like, that's not true. They're not. I need to come get you. You need to come back home. We're worried you have it. She was a public school teacher this whole time, but tenure, and I know it doesn't say. The weird part is she could be a very good teacher. She had a master's in education, but it was mortifying. People were like, where is she? And we're like, we finally picked her up with my grandmother, and I was trying to get her to the UCLA's psych hospital, which was fantastic. She wanted to go to lunch. She figured out where we were going, and in her manic state, got out of the car on the 405
oh my God.
With all this traffic and hailed a cab. I said to my grandmother, does she have any money?
Christ.
Like how? So
she got off of the freeway and hailed a cab on the freeway?
Correct.
I can't even believe that.
What?
You can't even hail a cab in LA.
First of all, I've never heard of anyone hailing a cab in LA. I mean, that's just...
Maybe his mom's the only person that's ever done it.
I mean,
was she on medication at any point, but then she'd stop taking it because she was like, I feel better, or would she not take it at all? And I assume at that point she probably wasn't medicated, but how was that going for her?
Right. I mean, here's the problem. There are a lot of people who are like big pharma, or people's personalities are, damaged or whatever. But obviously here we're not talking about opioids, right? That's a very different thing. Like I'm a big believer in these drugs. They save people's lives. And we need to start thinking of mental illness the way we do physical illness.
Right.
It's an illness. And it is a tricky combination of medications. And that's the problem. And the way I understand it now, kind of, and I have like some OCD anxiety. I take Cymbalta for that.
I take that too.
Hey. Cymbalta.
Oh yeah. It works. It works if you work it.
The program, yeah. No, it really does. And I felt, I do feel since the pandemic, especially more people are talking about mental health, which is great. But the problem is my mother was never transparent with us about what she was taking. I would go with her to psychiatrists. They were usually appointed by the LA Unified School Board. They weren't great. They were older dudes. There was one guy who would just sign a prescription for whatever. He would fall asleep while she was talking. I went.
Jesus.
And she'd be like, I do believe that Richard and I will get back together. And I was like, are you listening to this? Doesn't this require, we need to get her on something that, and he was like, huh, what? And I was like, shit.
Jesus.
So she was on medications, whether they were right or wrong. I know currently she's on lithium. She has taken Depakote. She has taken, it's a combination. And I will say this, like anything, if you're physically sick and you happen to be bipolar or have any of these problems, a virus or something is attacking your body and bothering you, it's going to throw you off whack with whatever other drug you're taking. I've had a blocker number before, and I'm doing it again. just so you're aware too, the manic is hard to reason with, right? The manic is my mother's 7 different people, right? She's Lonnie Anderson. She's Satan. She's, she's somebody from Designing Women. She's like, I don't know what I'm going to get.
Yeah.
But, and it's also very hard to literally get her to get help, right?
Yeah.
She'll run out.
Jesus.
The one other manic thing I will tell you that was, I think the most scarring, I know this is all a lot, which is why when I saw your podcast, How to Survive, I was like, oh, yeah. The most damaging thing for me personally was one time when she had a manic episode, took her to her psychiatrist. The psychiatrist was like, you're right. I was like, I actually liked this woman. There's been so many over the years. She's like, we need to get her to the hospital right away. And I was like, yeah, this is what happens. I try to do that. Yeah. And she gets out of the car, like wherever we are. I can't do this. Yeah. I can't go looking for her in a mall. I can't go, I can't, I need help. Yeah. And she said, okay, I'll call the hospital. And she was like, I'm going to see if the hospital can bring orderlies here to come get her. And I was like, amazing.
Was this in front of your mom?
No, we put her, woman comes out, she's like, yeah, they can't do that. I was like, so once again, I take her, it's not UCLA because we're in the valley where she lives and we need to go somewhere quick so she doesn't wise up. She's screaming at me, I'm not crazy, I'm not crazy, I'm not crazy. I said, fine, you will tell the doctors here that and I will be wrong.
Right.
Okay?
Good.
So then let's just, fine. And then I want to go to lunch and I want to go shopping.
Great.
Fantastic. We had to wait in the regular ER. There are people bleeding from the head. At UCLA, they at least have the good sense to put you in triage. My mother was just acting up. There's like people with broken arms. We wait an hour, we wait 2 hours, we wait 3 hours. I'm like, she's like, I'm hungry. I get her something from the vending machine. She throws it on the floor. I keep going back to the people who work at the hospital. And I'm like, can we just get her admitted like somewhere? I think she's upsetting other people. And I don't know how to control her much longer. Yeah. I turn around and my mother's gone.
Right. Jesus.
She's gone. I have her purse and her cell phone because I can't. So this wasn't that long ago. This was like 7 years ago. And I'm like, shit. And I go running out into the street. She's on Ventura Boulevard, screaming at the top of her lungs, help, please help, trying to fly down cars. My son is trying to kill me.
Oh, my God.
So I calm down, but she pulls over police.
And you're like, I am going to kill you now, woman.
Well, she pulls over the police and says that, and she's in tears, and I'm holding her purse and whatever, and she's in the middle of the street crying, and they're looking at me, and they're like, let us see your hands. And I'm like, absolutely. I mean,
right.
Like I have a firearm, like I have her purse with weird 80s things on it. It looks like something Bette Midler would have worn in one of her movies, and her keys with her Lucite keychain that says Lorraine. I mean, do I look like I'm packing? And I'm like just cross. Okay. And I was like, I have got to calm down. I'm shaking. And so they come across the street. My mother goes to the other side of the street, which I was like,
away from them?
Yes.
Okay.
And they're like, ma'am, please cross the street. And they're like, what did you do? What did you do to your mother? And I was like, no, I didn't do anything. My mother's bipolar. I'm trying to get her help. She's screaming the whole time. They're looking back and forth. They're looking back and forth. They don't know who to believe. Right. Suddenly my mom's like, my children hate me. They want to kill me. They want to kill me. And she falls into a bush.
Oh, my God.
And the police are like, oh, and they're going to go get her. And then she screams, did you see what he did? He pushed me. He pushed me into the bush.
Wow.
I am
from across the street.
Where? Yeah, and I'm just crying.
Oh.
And they're like, okay, we got it. And they waited for the light change. They picked her up out of the bush. They brought her back across the street. And they said, look, it's going to be okay. We're going to help you. This is obviously out of your control, and we're so sorry. This is our. And I was like, I don't know what to do. They handcuffed her.
Oh my God.
She needed it, and they calmed her down. They put her in the car, and they said, listen, we are not taking her to jail. We can drive her around to the front of the hospital and get her admitted immediately in a way that you can't.
Oh.
So all you have to do, I mean, you can stay, but if you don't want to stay and you want to go home, just call the hospital. She will be admitted to the psych ER. You don't have to worry about it. And I was like,
Wow.
Okay, but I just remember sitting on the ground by the parking structure of the hospital, the windows up on the police car. My mother's like this.
Yeah.
She's looking at me and I can't hear what she's saying, but she's screaming bloody murder.
Yeah.
I'm in tears. I call my husband.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and I'm just like telling him, he was like, come home, we'll make dinner. Well, I love you. And I was like, I love you. I don't know what to, I couldn't drive. I went across the street to a Chili's.
That's a low. That's an all-time low.
The Chili's is the saddest part.
If it's the Chili's I'm thinking of, it's like Chili's to go. It's not even. It's a Chili's 2.
This
is rock bottom.
It's next to a mini mall with a Starbucks and like a Jinkies. Do you know where I mean?
I know Jinkies.
I sort of drew a line in the sand, and then I was about to do a show for BET, naturally.
Sure.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And I was signing the papers, and my mother was like, your father's dead.
Oh my God.
And I, kind of like that. And I was like, what? She's like, yeah, the cops are coming to get him, and your brother's here. And I was like, okay. And I got there.
He died at your house?
He died.
Mom's house?
Yeah, lying on a mattress. And she was like, I think he must have just died in his sleep from natural cause. I was like,
oh. Denial to the end.
I was like, he's 64. And,
that's so
and look
young.
at this, Mom. Look, it's a pipe. And look at this. And what's this? And my brother, too, was kind of like, they didn't want to hear it. And my brother knew. He came with me to the jail, And then all I remember from that day was I couldn't even grieve for my dad. My mom went, throw out his mattress and take my dog to the groomers. And I looked at her and I went, you're insane, and I have put up with you far too long, and I will not do that. You will not tell me how to mourn my dad, and you will give me a minute. And then, in her best Mercedes McCambridge exorcist voice, she said, take the dog to the groomer! And I was...
Jesus Christ.
Wow.
I did. It just took me such a long time to figure out that none of this is normal.
Right.
And when people say their parents are crazy, and then I meet someone and they stump me, and I'm like, oh, wow. Wow. And then I feel like if you can top my crazy parents, well, not even top, but like if that shared experience with somebody is really meaningful to me, because A, it's hard to open up about.
Sure.
And B, my heart goes out to people that have navigated their way into adulthood with some emotional intelligence and functioning relationships, because it's hard.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, for our listeners, I would love to know how you did do that. I mean, what kind of steps did you take to be healthy and to have boundaries and to learn how to function as a healthy adult?
Still trying.
Yeah.
That's okay.
Growing up in LA especially, I don't know if this would have happened in Jersey. You kind of, maybe it's hokey, but, because it's always like, oh, everyone in LA goes to therapy and drinks wheatgrass or whatever. But you do find ways to become more self-actualized because of where you are. So as soon as I knew I was gay, I said to my parents, I want to go to therapy. As soon as I knew they were getting a divorce, I said I wanted to go to therapy. As soon as,
that's great.
I've never really lapsed from therapy. I think it's important. It's also been really educational. More than once I've been able to see therapists that have seen my parents.
Wow.
One time, I guess, sort of off the record, but other times where I got one or the other parent to actually sign off on it, which is what you usually have to do, right?
Yeah, and thank you for being so open with us today. This was just an amazing story. I'm so glad you're okay. You sound like the audience doesn't know this, but you have a husband who makes you omelets on a fucking Friday morning.
Yes.
I mean, and avocado toast. This, you're doing something right.
I'm very grateful. I have to remember that too. I'm very grateful for what I have. I think I've gotten to a place where my parents' story I realize is not mine.
Yeah.
But I also realize it's pretty incredible.
Yeah.
It is. Absolutely.
Write that book, Kevin.
Write it, Kevin.
You've got enough material for at least 2 memoirs. So
thank you so much for letting me.
Absolutely.
For having me.
Yes. Thank you for being on the show. It was a great story. I think a lot of our audience is going to connect to.
Yeah.
Not specifically your story,
but maybe.
But some of it, you know, we've got a lot of people out there who've been through stuff.
Yeah.
So,
well, thank you so much, Kevin.
Thank you.
And we will be right back with What Did We Learn Today?
Want to teach your kids financial literacy, but not sure where to start? Greenlight can help. With Greenlight, parents can keep an eye on kids' spending and saving, while kids and teens use a card of their own to build money confidence. As a parent, you can send instant money transfers, set up chores, automate allowance, and more. It's a convenient way to run your household, customized to your family's needs, and the easy way to raise financially smart kids. Get started with Greenlight today and get your first month free at greenlight.com/Wondery.
This episode is sponsored by AutoTrader. There's a good chance you're driving right now. Look around. Safely. What do you see? Cars. Lots of them. And guess what? They're probably on AutoTrader. Whether you're into timeless classics or the latest trends. Did somebody say solar-powered, eco-friendly, vegan, leather-wrapped, aromatherapy-scented, disco ball-equipped, self-driving car? If you see it on the road, you can likely find it on AutoTrader. Big cars, small cars, blue cars, new cars, used cars, electric cars, and one day, maybe even flying cars. With millions to choose from, buying a car becomes a whole lot easier. See it, find it, AutoTrader. Find your next car on autotrader.com.
Kristine?
Yep.
Are you ready to learn what we learned today?
Please.
Procedures, procedures, procedures. Oh, my.
It should be a new segment on our show. With a little theme song.
Yes, we should get a theme song.
Procedures.
Get Mike Henry on that. Too sweet.
Yep.
Narcissism is described as excessive interest in or admiration of oneself and one's physical appearance. But it's so much more than that, as we've learned.
Yeah.
Clinically, that is. Find a support group of other people who understand and have experiences with narcissistic parents. Narcissism is a seed for future mental health concerns. Therapy is a great tool to help deal with these experiences. Season 14 of Real Housewives of New York starts on July 16th.
Oh, I'll be back by then.
Okay. It's Bastille Day +2.
That's how I always think of July 16th.
That's how you always think of it.
I've always seen July 16th that way.
I'm really excited.
For Bastille Day?
Well, that and
Yes.
for Real Housewives of New York, starring our friend Jenna Lyons.
Our best friend.
Our BFF.
Fan of the show. She listens every week.
As does Isaac Mizrahi.
They both do. In our dreams.
Do we have any plugs today or anything you want to say about subscribers or...
I love our subscribers.
Please subscribe if you haven't already. I'm finding out every week that I have to cut more and more out of the episodes that end up in the Patreon-only versions. So if you want to get the whole juicy goss, or whatever we're talking about... Yeah, juicy goss.
You can't shut us up.
No, you can't. No, we will not be shut up. Then go on to podhowtosurvive.com and sign up.
That's
for
one thing you can
Patreon,
do. Yeah.
or just go to Patreon.
Go to right to Patreon.
Yeah.
We love your letters. We love all of you deeply.
Yes.
Each and every one of you we are in love with. And
That's right.
We would marry you if it wasn't illegal in the state of California.
That's right.
But if they make it legal,
plural marriage,
we're marrying you. So get ready.
Yeah, but only if you're at the top subscriber level.
Exactly. Garen will marry any of you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's just like, come on, let's do this.
Going on. Let's do it.
He's ready to marry anybody.
I'll get that world record.
Yeah.
Most marriages. Let's go.
All right. Well, until next time, I guess.
Remain calm.